You can hear us
Okay,
and
awesome.
we can hear you.
And I can see you. Yep. Okay, great. So it's nice to meet you all.
Hey, hi, Toby. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, Jeremiah, Wendy, and Bradford.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sorry it's been such a debacle.
That's fine. I just really appreciated the opportunity to watch Mendel's Messiah. There's a depth to it that feels both emotional and reflective, and I'm really looking forward to exploring that with you.
Thank you.
Right.
If it's okay, I might like to start with Bradford, and then if he wants to go, and then, or you guys can chime in at any point. That would be fine too.
I'm here for the duration. I'm here for
You
whatever.
are?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
Well,
awesome.
I
here for the
think you're
duration.
I think some of your basic questions I have to answer first.
Well, she wants to
Well,
ask.
none of my questions are basic.
That's
Okay.
true.
Well,
That's
let
true.
me
They
just,
were very good questions.
they were
Very,
very precise and very
insightful.
important.
Yes.
But I just want to tell you
Thank you.
one thing first before you before you begin to question Bradford. The way this came to pass was because I was a Broadway attorney and I was having a very significant, I had a very significant heavenly experience where I was lifted in the spirit, where I met the Messiah face to face. And I always like to say that this was the most important single thing that ever happened in my life. And I was a practicing Broadway attorney. I represented the Broadway Theater. I was with a very large law firm in New York City. And as a result of this, my whole life was turned completely around. And I found the Messiah, and I realized that he was Jewish like I was. And because of that, because I was introduced to him in person, it was a very deep and all-abiding personal experience that caused me to write this musical many years ago in 1970. What was it? 1980, somewhere thereabouts.
You produced it in 81.
And I began to produce it in L.A. in churches. And I wrote the musical in Lubbock, Texas, but it was because of a divine personal experience that my life was turned upside down. And I met the Jewish Messiah, and I realized that Yeshua, that the Christians, that the Catholics and the Christians and everyone that confesses him, he was my Messiah. As you know, that I didn't have to convert from anything just to accept him, but I saw his identity. I had the experience of walking in the Spirit. I saw myself walking in the Spirit in the temple in heaven. I saw many of the people that had passed over to the other side, and my life was totally transformed. So now that you've heard that, and I had to demonstrate that to our people because I'm very, very committed to my Jewishness, to my ancestry, all of whom come from, either Russia or Lithuania. On my father's side, Russia. On my mother's side, and I was a very, very committed to my family, very deep, loving family relationships. And but I had to communicate the fact that Messiah had come and that he was going to return. And so I wrote this musical on his instructions because I had been writing for many years. So I wrote this musical on his instructions, but specifically to show that he was the Jewish Messiah. And I saw him face to face so that nobody could ever say to me, you're crazy, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you're all, misled or something. So
So
that's
it sounds
now
like
you can,
you already answered the first question, which was what first inspired the creation of Mendel's Messiah,
There you
and
go.
what felt most important for you to convey through this story.
that I had to demonstrate to our people because I discovered that he was Jewish and that he was the Jewish Messiah. And I had such a love for him. It developed in my heart so quickly, and it has grown so dramatically. And I ministered for many years. I was in the office of the prophetic. I was teaching prophetically. I wrote a book. We have 5 musicals, by the way. Anyway,
This is the first one.
this is just the first one. So
So
the
you
point
did
is,
the Broadway show, and then you went to one of the producers, and they helped you switched it to the screenplay, correct?
No.
no. That was, you see, it's a very organic thing. You know, every single step along the way, beginning with my divine experience.
Right.
Meeting my darling wife was brought to me by divine unction. She was brought into my life. My my life changed. I adore my wife. We've been married for 43 years, and she is my best friend on this earth. But my best friend in heaven is Yeshua. The
So
work that we
when you talked about doing it in the 1980s, you were a Broadway attorney and you helped develop the Broadway musical first?
Well, it was first. It was off Broadway in 1985 at the Perry Street Theater off Broadway. Um, by that time, I had produced it in California, in in churches in Los Angeles for a couple of years, and I finally had reached the place where, because I was no longer I guess I was. This was after I practiced law. Practiced law many. I'm 90 years old, so I've
I
been
know you're
around a few years.
a very young 90-year-old.
Thank you very much. And the thing is, we have produced, my wife and I have produced New York City theater for years, not just New York City, but Los Angeles, Washington D.C., Florida.
That's
We
a
have
huge
produced for
claim to
45 years.
fame.
I'm
On
sorry.
the film, I said that was a huge claim to fame. I was noticing on the film the way that it moved across Jewish and Christian traditions, along with theatrical and musical forms. How did you approach those elements together in a way that felt really intentional and cohesive across the two communities?
Well, I think this is something that Wendy should talk about, because she wrote, she transformed our theatrical work into a, which we produced in many different cities, and we were actually pioneers. We did it so many years ago that we were first in all of all of the believers. Our faith films were really the first to be done, and they were really
Mm-hmm.
on New York City level, which is a whole different level. When you're dealing with New York theater, it's the best in the world. It's the theater capital
Well,
of the world.
are you originally from Brooklyn? And that's why the story
No,
starts
I'm not.
there?
But some of my family was, but no,
Okay.
I'm originally from Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut. And
Okay.
but the thing is, I want to tell you that every step along the way, my coming to my wife, our meeting Bradford, I mean, all of these different elements were so significant, but they were organic, and we are a family. We have a company of maybe 80 people when we're filming, and we love each other. We treat each other with respect, and by the grace of God, see, we're theater people, and we knew nothing about film until we met Bradford, and then it was bombastic, an explosion, because he is a genius, a brilliant man, but a decent, kind, wonderful, loving man. And as a result of all of this, we were able to pull together this most dramatic and exciting and wonderful work that is, I've never
Well,
seen anything like it.
it's very different from Broadway to film. So, Bradford, is it possible you can talk about your role in bringing Mendel's Messiah from stage to screen and what the process looked like from your perspective as a producer?
Absolutely. I met Wendy and Jeremiah in July of 24. I went to Florida, to Coral Springs, where they live. We spent 4 days together. They showed me the play. I had not seen the play previously, and along with their other plays and whatnot. And obviously, the focus was on Mendel's Messiah. Um, I was brought in by a producer who a friend of theirs told them to hire. He lives overseas, and I had worked with him a little bit before that on several different movies. And someone fell out that they were thinking about having them direct, and my name came up. We met, we had a great time, and we decided to become partners. I would say that basically I didn't really try to change. I tried to facilitate the ability to bring this wonderful play to film. I listened to Jeremiah because obviously it's way more than just a piece of work for him. It's his life and how he feels about the Messiah and his religion and the Christian religion as well. I am Christian, and I had no problem in bringing this to this film because all I did was facilitate what I knew. We used the first and foremost high-tech real engine LED wall, which was able to create all of the wonderful backgrounds that you see in the movie. And we were able to design it in such a way that what I really wanted to do most of all was let everybody that had been doing this on stage for so very, very long, that we weren't playing to the back row. The subtleties of film was something that a lot of them had not been involved in. Now, Gary Morton has done film for many, many years. He's been in the business for quite some time. Stephen, not so much. Bo is just starting out with doing that. He's also a terrific performer, also has his own show on America. What is it? America One, I think, but nonetheless. All we really wanted to do was take what they had done on stage and create it into a film version, and almost a 360. We had to make sure that the players did not play to the back row, because the subtleties of film is so much different than what they were used to playing in front of an audience of 1,000 people, 500 people, whatever it might have been. So it was my job to try to take away the proscenium feel of it and let the actors play towards the audience and create this 360-degree world that we could actually climb into as viewers and be taken away by it, rather than, if you're in a theater, you're looking at everything. Your eyes take you to everything, but you can't achieve the subtleties that we are able to do in film. And that's really what I wanted to do, is create the subtleties of film. And the way that Wendy and Jeremiah and myself and our editor cut the film, we were able to bring exposure to the subtleties of film rather than looking at the whole stage. And I think that probably was first and foremost for me.
Well, it sounds like you kept it as close to the original and authentic, while, altering the subtleties and really allowing us to be immersed in the production as if we were one of the people. And I think at some point, even Mendel kind of broke the fourth wall,
Yes.
in talking to the audience.
Well, that was the idea in a lot of ways. Men did a great job in bringing him into being one of the disciples so that we could enjoy that world within. The main objective was that Mendel was leading the charge in this movie, and that we had to learn and be with Mendel on his journey and learn what he learned. And then we could make our own ideas and understanding of what we were trying to tell. At this point, I think we've honed it down to where you do agree with Mendel when he finally finds out. That doesn't mean that we are pushing anything on anyone. This is pure entertainment. And I think that Wendy and Jeremiah wanted to do that right from the beginning. So I didn't want to stand in the way of any of that. But as you say, I wanted to have the viewers become immersed into a world. And it's hard to do that on stage because we have these wonderful backgrounds and we become immersed into, going back into ancient Jerusalem and seeing all of that, being on the Sea of Galilee with all the disciples. Just make it as interesting as it possibly could be for the viewer.
I definitely felt that I was traveling with him, and the story, wanting him to find his truth and the reassurance, and how it kind of kept showing back up. It kind of moving and staying in the production stage, not to get to the end before we reach the middle.
Right.
When a story moves from stage to film, there are natural shifts in how it's experienced. So how did you, I think you've explained it a lot, how you approach that transition from a production standpoint in that concept of 360.
I would like to say something, if I can intervene for 1 second.
Yeah, go for it.
Which might turn into more than 1 second because I am that way, but Bradford calls me Big Poppy. I've been doing this for 45 years, and I used to be a stage director. I used to direct my own work. Bradford's a bloody genius. I mean, we're like so close. We almost think as one. And that's the beauty of what it is that we've done. But this is the story, in effect, of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is Mendel.
He
I
is
am
Mendel.
Mendel Moskowitz. I mean, this is what happened to me, and because I am
Mm-hmm.
Jewish, and because I come from a Jewish background and Jewish family, and because I love Israel with all my heart and soul, and love the Lord with all my heart and soul, and understand so much about of the deeper aspect of what it means to be a believer in your own Messiah. My golly, and because it is the story of my life, that what the thoughts he was thinking came from my brain, because I was thinking those thoughts, those exact thoughts. And why is it that every Jewish person, when they become a believer, they become a Baptist or a Pentecostal or a Catholic, or but why can't they just stay Jewish people? Why do they have to go somewhere else? Because he is their Messiah, and thank God that the whole, so what we have done, we have done it purely as entertainment. And I have the most brilliant wife. I want her to talk, because she is absolutely, she's my dearest friend, and the dearest friend of Bradford. Bradford's wife Lisa is a former
Yep.
motion picture star, and I mean, we are a family. We are an organic family, and what we do,
Hey,
we do
Jeremiah,
with the love of God. Yeah.
when you say that you're just like Mendel, do you have his same Jewish humor?
Oh
Oh,
God,
that,
yes.
of course, that's where it comes from. As a matter of fact, we cut a lot of
Oh
it
my
out,
word!
because I
It's his
love
sense
that
of humor
humor.
that guides. It's his sense of humor that guides the movie, because
Oh, it's
Yeah,
basically, if
you
he
know,
was
I
just if we were just doing a documentary about how to learn how to understand who the Messiah is, it wouldn't be half of what it is. But
it's
the
definitely
Jewish
a
humor and the
component.
Yiddish humor is all
Yeah.
part of what Big Poppy is all about, and
Mm-hmm.
he is Mendel. So I didn't come in and try to change the world. I tried
Mm-hmm.
to look at it from what they wanted and what I wanted and what I knew I could bring to it. Um, you have to remember that these people have all been together for a long time. I was an outsider, really, and then I throw them all into this
New
studio.
group.
Yeah, the studio, which is, has a stage that's elevated, and a 300, actually a 180 screen LED, Robot Studios in Fort Lauderdale. And so I had to let them know that, and I wanted to be accepted into the family, but
Aw.
I also had to be a leader in what we were trying to achieve, which they achieved it so many different times, uh, night after night. But when you're doing film, the subtleties of having to do more than one performance, or if
Right.
something would go
Right.
wrong in the film world, they were a little shocked, because basically we had to do it many, many, many times,
More
with
times than on Broadway.
many
Right.
different camera
What
angles that gave
what
us the
would you
ability to feel, as you did, that we're actually making a movie and we're not just looking at the proscenium stage, which is really what we were shooting on. And
what
we were
do
able to
you
achieve
think that was one of
greatly.
the biggest challenges? Like what was the most challenging aspect of adapting this and bringing this work to life as a film?
Making sure that I was able to get the subtleties from the actors that they were able to do on stage, but also have to perform it on film, so we could get the subtleties of the eye movement, and we could actually,
Mm.
through camera movement, um, have the viewer understand what that character was feeling at that time. And it's very hard to do that in the theater. You have to sometimes overact, because you play to
Mhm.
the back wall, and sometimes you have to turn to the audience and keep them involved. When you're doing a film, it's automatic. I take you where I want to take, and where I want the emotions to take place. So it's much, much different. And I think the subtleties of the actors, and it didn't take too long. They adapted. They welcomed me in to the family. They'd all been there for a long time. I mean, Wendy and Jeremiah have known these people, some of them for 40 years. Beelzebub Bob Stephen Len White has been with them and played almost every character in the movie at that
Wow.
point. So um, that was, I think, the most important thing to me, was to keep the subtleties of what they wanted on stage, but also bring them to the film aspect of it through the cutting and through the angles and through the camera movement.
I find it really interesting that the most challenging aspect was also the most important to you in helping shape the film, you know?
I think so. I, I didn't. I wasn't there to change the wheel. The wheel had been created many, many years ago. I
You
had
know,
to, and I say this constantly. If Poppy would have known lenses and camera movement, he would have probably directed it himself. But I told him and I promised him and Wendy when I came and met them in July of 24 that I would respect what they had created, and I would just bring my subtleties and my brand to the fact that the actors would love to work and want to work and do it as many times as we needed to do it. And they all bought into it, and that's a tough thing for people to do when they have been doing it for so many years. They had to buy into my brand and to how I worked and the subtleties of what I wanted. And it shows in the movie. It really does. But the music that was constructed and orchestrated and done by Big Poppy, that's everything. That's the movie. So it was very easy for me to come in. I love music and I love musicals, and I had an opportunity to do this, and I'm blessed because I did.
Well, it sounds like you're part of the family now.
Well,
oh
I hope
yeah,
so. Sometimes we have family arguments at times, but that's okay. That's what families are all about. But Wendy keeps us all together.
but the thing is,
A huge
here's the thing. Here's the thing. We none of us, I never thought very much of my writing ability. I mean, I knew that I had I was good, but I never felt like I mean, when I was 10 years old, or about 10 years old, my dad introduced me to Richard Rodgers. My dad was a wonderful musician, and he was arranging the Rodgers Hammerstein, the theme song for the Rodgers Hammerstein evening at Yale Bowl in New Haven. It was this pop concert series. So I was introduced to Richard Rodgers. And when I was a kid, I mean, I knew pretty much every Broadway score. I knew everything I knew the names of all the writers. I knew well, I was a young kid, but I adored that kind of music. And so my dad introduced me to Richard. I went to the dress rehearsal for this. I met Rodgers and Hammerstein, and Rodgers said to me, "Young man, who's your favorite theater composer?" And I said, "Cole Porter." And my father shriveled, but I mean, I was very honest. I was a young kid, but the thing is, I never thought very much of myself. I never comprehended the fact that I would ever one day be able to write something of this character and this quality.
Well,
But
it sounds
I
like
tackled
your
it.
passion for the Lord brought you there.
Exactly, and I tackled it. The thing is, I always accepted challenges. I always felt that challenges were a good thing. I went to law school nights. I worked days. And I passed the bars in Connecticut and in New York first, and then Connecticut years later. And
So,
but when I met my darling wife, I wanted to talk a little bit because she is like my
Well,
Rebecca.
Wendy, if I can jump in there, the production could not have survived without Wendy.
thank you.
And I say that, and I've told her that before. I love her with all my heart, as I do Big Poppy, Jeremiah. Wendy is the heart and soul of it. She really is. She was the heart and soul of allowing us to and allowing me to be able to do what I needed to do. She was completely supportive throughout. She never wavered, and she helped keep everything tied together. And we had two different complete crews because we did what we called a pilot in 20. Well, it was 24. Yes, in late 24 when we went in August and early September, and we did a half hour's worth, which actually ends with what Wendy wrote, which was "What's Next." So we decided about 6 months after that we wanted to make the whole movie and get it and have that uh, for everything that they have wanted forever, is to have a complete movie with all of the songs, all of the connective tissue, everything that we had put together. And um, I say this with all love in my heart that none of it would have been achieved without Wendy.
Oh,
She she was just dynamic and but also subtle. She doesn't say much, but I think everybody understood that she was the
She was the boss.
she was someone that allowed us to be able to do what we needed to do, and I think that's everything in a producer. Everything is let your people do what they need to do, be supportive of them, and she's my hero.
Well, that's
Amen.
amazing. When
Oh,
My husband, Jeremiah, wrote all the music, all the lyrics. He wrote all the orchestrations. And the story is so beautifully told through the music. It's so uplifting, it's so tender, it's so exciting, it's lively, it's alive. And the screenplay, we adapted from the, it was, a stage musical. And it's so different in film. On stage, the actors are basically, they're singing out to the audience. And even though they're talking to each other, they're pretty much talking to the audience. But in film, they have to talk to each other. They're talking this way. They're not talking out that way. And we had to completely, redo the perspective of the character. Mendel,
Broadway trained actress,
and
yeah.
we totally redid the whole progression of scenes
Wow.
to tell the story starting in Brooklyn and Mendel through time travel, through visions,
Right.
through dreams. The angel Gabriel suddenly, surprisingly,
Right.
appears in his apartment and takes him on these journeys and shows him different spiritual or biblical events. And leading up to the crucifixion of Yeshua and ultimately his resurrection and the incredible love that's generated from Yeshua to his disciples to the followers of Yeshua to Mendel himself. So it's a beautiful story. Mendel's Messiah.com is something that we know that once it gets out there, it's just going to bring joy. It's going to bring knowledge of salvation. It's going to open people's understanding that, especially the Jewish people, that he loves them, that Yeshua loves Israel, that he's coming back to Jerusalem. The scriptures specifically say the way that he went up from Jerusalem is the way he's going to come back down to Jerusalem to establish his kingdom. And it has a message. It's a new gospel, New Testament message. And Bradford's the one who transformed it from us. Using our script and our music, made it something that's going to last forever and it's eternal.
but also the costumes, the colors, and all that. We had a concept that, we were very hands-on, Wendy and I. I mean, we nothing escapes our view. We watch everything so carefully. We've been doing this for almost 50 years, and we've made a lot of friends over the years. And we have, the costume designer Tracy Christensen. Tracy is, we sat down with Tracy, and I said, Tracy, I don't want this to be, I love theater and theatricality, and you can't. I don't want dull colors. I don't want grays and browns, and I want it to be circusy. I want it to be carnival, kind of carnival. And if you listen to my music, I have in places that you wouldn't expect it, because I'm trying to always present something that
one of the things I noticed in the music is the difference in almost the background. Like I could hear a fiddler on the roof, and then it would shift to like gospel, and then I could get some like Bollywood, and like culturally it kept shifting, with the clarity of the culture or the message, or comprised with the image. It was multi-sensory. And I have to believe from what you're saying, it was all very intentionally and very thorough.
Definitely.
I want to tell one thing. I'm sorry. I just want to say that I had a very profound experience when when we were having a Bible study in my home. I lived in, of all places, New Canaan, Connecticut. And we were having a Bible study in my home. And we were standing, all of us holding hands. And there was this lovely lady who was a good friend of ours, Russian Orthodox from Russia, and she was a committed believer, sweetest woman. And I was standing and we were holding hands and praying, and it was in my home. And all of a sudden I felt kind of like underneath my heart and back, under my shoulder blades. It's like somebody stuck a needle right into my heart. And it was like it enveloped me with almost a fiery feeling. And she said to me after that, she said, "You had a visitor." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "The visitor was the Holy Spirit." I said, "What?" But it transformed me so much so that my music changed. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to understand that I don't take a lot of credit for. I mean, this is not my. I love what I've done, but I don't think of myself that highly. I mean, I never have, and I really don't want to. But what I want to express is the fact that from that moment on, heaven took over, and it was like the transformation within me was so profound. A former practicing attorney, I'd been successful, but I'd never known anything like this, and it transformed me, and my music became so beautiful and so multi-leveled, and I want to say that I do not take credit for this. I give credit to where credit is due. This is an anointing.
While you're on the music, when I was listening to it, while you're on the music, when I was listening to it, it draws directly from biblical language at key moments, like Psalm 22. What guided your decision to lean into the text that way? Because literally, if I listened closely, I was really trying to pull the words, and sometimes it was challenging, and I would have to go and place and there was so much biblical literature that just showed up in the lyrics. And then sometimes I would just kind of absorb the melodic feeling, and it would just flow through me. So I don't have to listen to the lyrics all the time. I can just feel it and appreciate, So I guess my question is, again, what guided your decision to lean into the text?
Well, I became a biblical, you might say I was a student of the Bible. Because I am a lawyer, I studied and studied and studied, became somewhat authoritative with respect to the prophetic end time events. And my music has been performed in Israel, and I performed in front of 3,000 people with an opera song. Calvin Marshall, the Metropolitan Opera, was singing my music. But I know the Bible inside and out, and I love it because it is truth, and it is the biblical truth that excites my heart. So much so that I captured. I don't think anybody that I've ever heard in the world has taken the approach that I have taken, to take a biblical verse, which is like poetry from Isaiah. I mean, you mentioned the 22nd Psalm. I mean, that is like a challenge, huh?
No, that's not Isaiah.
What?
Psalm.
22nd Psalm.
Yeah,
No, but Isaiah also, like, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings. I mean, this is stuff that is in my heart. And so when I would write music to it, it was a natural thing. It was like organic. It flowed out of me. Like, sometimes it came so fast that I just couldn't write it down fast enough, because it just meant so much to me. It's my existence. It's my reason for living.
Realize that what is truth? What is Truth was John 18:38. I actually wrote notes that went along with the segments within the movie. And then the Barabbas release was Matthew 27:15-26.
Right.
And so I appreciate it that way.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that.
O Jerusalem, where Yeshua sings, "O Jerusalem," it's a very tender song. That's word for word Matthew 27. 23:37. And many of his songs are really word for word scripture, except for the demon numbers. The demon numbers are.
That's where you had the jazz hands come in and the seduction.
Yeah. Right. But I love all this. Great music to me is like ice cream. I mean, my dad used to take me to the symphony, and I used to sit there, in New Haven Symphony Orchestra, and I used to sit there. And when I was listening to some of the magnificent music, not all music was magnificent. Some was boring, and I was a young kid, a little guy. And I used to, when I would hear this beautiful music, I would almost feel like I was going to swoon. I mean, there's something about
Right.
beautiful, godly music that is so godly. And it's like,
You don't necessarily have to understand what's being said. You can feel it from internally.
I think you're
exactly.
right on with that, because that's part of it. The music takes you away. The movie is based in the Bible, but the brilliance of being able to write the music around what's in the Bible, I think, is first and foremost about Mendel's Messiah, because you don't even feel that. If you're a scholar, you'll understand it, but nonetheless, the music just takes you away. It's brilliant. It's done with love and happiness, and finally finding your faith. I would hope that
And I don't take credit for that, Bradford. Yeah.
Well, but I hope that anybody that watches the movie will be taken up in that. We're not trying to change anybody. We're not trying to say this is the way you have to believe. It is pure entertainment, and we went the way of the Lord. And
I think it's also educational, actually. Entertainment and educational. Like the entertainment
Well, it is. It's educational if you want to believe it, if you want to understand. But overall, I think one of the notes is who would be taken up at watching Mendel's Messiah, and what would they say when the movie's over? They would say,
Right.
Yes, entertaining, informational. I don't believe it, but I had a good time watching it. And that's all we really want to do. Those who want to enjoy the message will do that, but we're not out there to. It's not a documentary. We're not trying to make believers. We're hopeful that if they watch this movie and understand how we put it together and the music, that it takes you to a place where you can understand that there is another possibility.
Absolutely. The story engaged deeply with themes of identity. I mean, and it really started with that Brooklyn moment. I mean, I'm originally from Brooklyn, so
Good for
the
you.
moment I saw the bridge, I was like, oh, I see where we are.
Well, we go back there, and good films come back full circle, and you have to see that not only did he learn, but things kind of turned around in his life for him, and just his moment with Gabriel at the end. And of course, the devil himself is never going to be gone. He's going to keep fighting.
Well, until the Lord throws him into the lake of fire.
Hey, Jeremiah, I have a quick question for you. You appear in the film as Simeon the prophet.
No, that wasn't him. That wasn't him.
It wasn't him?
No, I'm kidding.
Let me tell you about
How
that.
perceptive of you.
Okay, ask the
How
question.
perceptive that you knew it was Jeremiah.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, I have two questions. What made you choose that part, one, and how did stepping into that role influence your perspective on the story as both the creator and the performer when you identify with Mendel?
It's a very, very interesting story. I have a lot of good friends in the industry, in the ministry. And Jonathan Kahn, one of my very dear friends, is I think he's one of the best teachers, gospel teachers there is. And Jonathan's a close friend of mine. So I called him and I said, Jonathan, I would like you to play Simeon the prophet. He says, Jeremiah. He says, come on, leave me alone. He says, my anointing wouldn't, he's also a good singer. He said, but that's out of my bailiwick. Please, he's written like 15 books. I called Marty Getz, another dear friend of mine who lived in our home in Los Angeles when we went to New York. And I said, Marty, would you consider doing it? And Marty said, he's got a gorgeous voice. He said, Jeremiah, I'm so busy. I have this Friday night, he has an online work that he's doing. He said, I couldn't do it. And I said, well, I had such pain in my knee. I didn't know what it was, but it was arthritis. I could barely walk. And I just said, I can't do it. I mean, I had acted the role of Mendel Moskowitz for years, many, many times. And I'm good at it. I'm a good actor. And I just said, I can't, there's no possible way that I can barely walk. The pain was so bad in my knee. And I said, and then one day I woke up and I usually get up and I pray for a couple of hours, read the Bible in between 3 and 5 in the morning. And I do it every night for 50 years. I'm at 53 years in the Lord now. And and that's the most important single time of my day, to get up in the middle of the night like that. No matter if I go to bed at 2 in the morning, I'm up at 4. If I go to bed at 1, I'm up at 3. Every day for years and years and years. And I just prayed one morning. I just said, Lord, it just occurs to me now. You died for me, and if I don't have the courage to get up there on the stage, no matter what I'm going through, then I'm not worthy of you. You did this for me and for the whole human race, and if I don't have the courage to get up on that stage and act because I have pain in my knee, too bad for me. So I make this commitment to you now that I'm getting up on that stage, and I can barely walk, and I am going to do it no matter what. Well, Bradford, my dear friend Bradford, and we are so close. We're just dear friends. And he said to me, Big Poppy, he calls me, he created the name Big Poppy. He says, Big Poppy, I'm going to give you chairs. I'm going to give you water. Don't worry about it. I was up on that stage. Every time we were through filming, he would have somebody bring a chair to me and sit me down, have somebody walk me down the stairs off of the stage, because I had such problems with my knee. But because of that, and because I had made that commitment, and it was a love commitment. It was just love, my love for the Lord and for what he did for us, that he created for me a lifetime. He brought me the most magnificent wife, who for 43 years were the dearest friends. There's nothing can touch that
I think it's
treasure.
beautiful that you've gotten the chance to not only be Mendel in real life, Mendel multiple times, but then to take another role as Simeon the prophet. And look at the elevation from where you started.
Yeah, he did a beautiful job, and he was not well. He was not feeling well. That knee was really bothering him, but he powered through it, and
With a big
he
smile on
was
your
very
face.
relieved at the end of it. I must say, he was.
Bradford
I
doesn't
think
stop.
The Lord put his
Bradford
hand on
didn't.
his head and said, "You did good. You did good."
Bradford will keep you on the stage. Bradford will keep you on camera until you're so exhausted you can't stand up anymore. But he
Oh
gets
my goodness.
every
The idea,
bit of it.
I wear it down. The idea is to wear the actor down so that they don't think about what they're saying. They just kind of be. And that was what we tried to accomplish throughout it. Proud of what we accomplished throughout. And the mere fact that we were able to bring this to film, we actually have a couple of different versions of it. It may be seen in an episodic form, but it will be seen. That's our main objective, is to get it out, the film and the message, to as many people as we can.
I noticed that right off the beginning, coming from my own Jewish perspective. I
Yeah.
found myself reflecting on how the story is experienced across traditions, and I immediately identified with the location and Mendel, with his Yiddish and his talking about his Zadie and his Bubby, and how they would
Oh,
be
yeah.
like
Like
ashamed of him.
yarmulke right down the toilet.
Tell the
Right.
story of the Jewish telegraphic agency.
What do you hope stays with the audience after the film ends?
Oh, definitely the music for me, and the visuals and the character. You're steeped into these characters. I think you're really following Mendel, and you love our hipster Gabriel, who is full of love and happiness and just wants to bring that and show Mendel the road through the Lord. And I think the whole thing of the demons being buffoonal and comical was really a touch of magic and genius, because we didn't portray them as woo. We portrayed
Right.
them as someone that you can kind of relate with and have some fun with. And I think that's the magic of the movie, really. You can't take your eyes off of Stephen and the demons, nor can you disallow the disciples, who are just brilliant, all of them with wonderful voices, and they're all very talented. And I just thank the Lord for allowing them to all buy into what Wendy and Jeremiah and I really wanted to achieve in the film. And I think I know that overall, everybody that has seen it or been a part of it will have those memories for the rest of their lives, because we created a real loving family, praying, just a magical, mystical kind of feeling that we wanted to create. And I think because it happened behind the scenes that way, we were able to actually put that on film. And that I will be always thankful for sure.
The thing that's really important to me, Toby,
Mm-hmm.
what did you said, what do you want the audience to carry away?
Mm-hmm.
My goal, my principal object in writing this was to demonstrate the fact that the King of the Jews was, Yeshua was a Jew, that he was a king of the, because we're suffering such anti-Semitism. Our people have suffered so much at the hands of the madmen and evil wickedness. And I wanted to portray where that comes from, that there is such a thing. The one thing about the devil, and he does exist, and he hides himself, and he prides himself on the fact that he can convince people that he doesn't exist. I had to demonstrate the fact that he does exist, and I had to show how he is responsible for anti-Semitism since the beginning, that he hates the Jewish people because they are the apple of God's eye. And I needed to demonstrate that so that Israel would understand where anti-Semitism, because one of the things that Mendel asks, please explain to me why have we always been so hated down through the ages? And it was important to me to show that very thing. This is why, because there is a killer who has tried through his rebellion to overtake the kingdom of God, and he's not succeeded. And he hates the Jewish people, and he hates the Christians because they believe in the same God and the same Bible. They study the same Bible, Huckabee, and all of these wonderful, wonderful people. And so I had to demonstrate to Israel. It's a teaching. Listen, there is a war in heaven. You are hated by the devil, and he will infiltrate men's hearts. And he does that through his demonic realm. He infiltrates, we call it symbiosis. He infects human consciousness, and he creates a hatred for those that he hates. And he hates Israel because God loves Israel, because Israel is the apple of God's eye, and the world forgets that. And I had to demonstrate that. And I also had to demonstrate that this new house of worship that I was instructed when I was in heaven by the hand of Almighty God, and he spoke to me, and he said, you will build for me a new house of worship. What he was talking about is this musical, and I didn't even know it. I had no idea for many, many years what that meant. It was because we are demonstrating to the world the return of the Davidic king, the king of Israel, is coming back to Jerusalem, to the Temple Mount, and this is an important message. And that if you hate Israel, you're hating the apple of his eye, of God's eye. And you better be careful, because he says, I will bless those who bless you, Israel, and I will curse those who curse you. And the world has to be careful. They have to be aware of the fact that they're treading on thin ice, that there are consequences for hating the Jews. I had to show that. I had to demonstrate that.
I'm glad you brought that part up to understand the connection, because we were thrown into it at the very beginning, and it felt almost like in my body as a crystal knock. We went into the angel providing him, the tour through time travel. And so bringing it back to his store later that was bright and clean and a new start, like many Jews have gotten over and over again, despite,
Really, absolutely. You hit on it completely. The reason for the ending was that it's going to be okay, that we want it to be okay, and that this is our vision of what it needs to be, a new beginning. And everybody deserves that, especially in the Jewish faith. And what we see at the very beginning of the movie, which is people fighting and anger. And all we wanted to do was bring happiness, love, and faith. And that's, I think, what we achieved.
Absolutely. Even in Mendel's moment where he comes back to his bright store, we can see his sigh, we can see his smile. He conveys his peace. He conveys his transition, his revelation.
Peace. He's at peace with himself because he now knows. And that was the ending. That was what we wanted from the ending, which was not just leave him there. And as he says to the Lord, let me stay here with you. What the Lord tells him is, I've got other things for you to do. And you know what that was? Is to spread that it can be okay, that things can be rectified, and that there will come a day where the Jewish people and the Christians are not under the scrutiny that they are even today. So I think that message is not only current, but it shows that we wanted the ending not to be happiness and love, and with all the stuff that we see at the beginning and throughout the whole learning process, how could we not come back to that? It had to have that.
I just want to say one thing about the thing about our portrayal of Beelzebub, who is like this kind of comedic, buffoonish egomaniac. Yeah. But when the crucifixion takes place, and Yeshua is 3 days and 3 nights in the grave, and he goes into the netherworld and he takes the keys of death and hell. And it's a serious moment for Beelzebub because Yeshua wins. He strips Beelzebub of a certain spiritual power that he has. And then Beelzebub says, if I can't get you, in other words, he can't keep him dead, he's rising from the dead. If I can't get you, I'll get your children. It is not. So that's the serious moment with Beelzebub, because on all other time it's fun and games and vaudeville and exciting and wonderful music. But that's the real Beelzebub, is maniacal hatred of God. He said, now I'll be God. No, Yeshua says, no, you shall go down to the pit. And he loses an element of his power. Not completely, not yet. He still is in existence roaming the earth, but he can't really get Yeshua, but he can go after the Jewish people, the apple of God's eye. So it's there. That's a message. And
well, thanks for filling in the blanks on that.
Not everyone will see it, but we had to put it in.
It was a powerful moment in the production to show that conflict between them.
Very, very powerful. And actually, on stage, if I may, as we get to the end of this, on stage, Yeshua and Beelzebub basically talked that whole scene, and it was Jeremiah's brilliance that brought it to what it was, which was operatic. I think it really stimulated the whole piece and put it to music, which was just, I thought, a brilliant situation, rather than just the two boys sitting there talking over it. And it certainly kept the musical aspect of what this movie is all about together. And I think that's probably, I won't speak for Jeremiah, but certainly his reasoning for making it a musical number was just, I thought, was very brilliant, really brilliant to it.
I just wanted to say, my actors, my two actors, Bo and Steve, they were afraid. They were trying to convince me that I shouldn't do the number because it's so hard to perform. And they were so afraid. I mean, it's high opera, and they were so scared to do it. They were afraid if we did it on the stage, they wouldn't have been able to do it. To put it together in the studio was a lot easier because if you made a mistake,
do another take.
You do another take. And but they were really terrified about this number, and it was a knockdown, drag out battle because I had to stick to my guns because a scene without, I mean, it was a regular scene. I had to compress about 7 minutes of actual dialogue into this musical number, and it took a lot of prayer, and it took a lot of, it didn't come easy. It's a hard number to write.
It's a great number.
So it's high opera. That's what it is.
Yeah. It was tough. It was a tough go for everyone, especially with Yeshua coming down into the depths of the netherworld, probably never been seen before in any way, shape, or form. So he came back to get the keys, and that was the object.
And I wrote it, I want to tell you one more thing. As I wrote this number, I pray a lot, because actually, I'm a servant of the Most High God. I'm his son. And I'm a servant, but I rely upon him a lot. And I just had no idea how to write this number. I could not imagine compressing 7 minutes of dialogue into one musical number. And I knew there had to be movements within that particular number because otherwise it wouldn't have been good music or good theater. And so it was hard. And I would hear from the Lord speaks to me because I hear in the spirit. And he would say, he would give me musical numbers to think about in order to understand the rhythms of what it was. I was to combine these different rhythms together to come up with the event that I did. So it took a long time to put that together, to get it, because I had to make the voices so that you could understand what both Beelzebub and Yeshua were saying to each other, singing against each other and sometimes together. So it was a very difficult thing, and I would not relent. The actors did not want to do it. They were terrified that they would not be able to do it, and I knew they could. So I just stuck
out. It's a beautiful, dramatic scene. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Anyway, we do have 4 more musicals.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
well,
can't
well,
wait. Are they going to be similar to this?
totally different, but
maybe-
beautiful. Not quite as many musical numbers.
The next one is Mendel and Moses, and then the time of Mendel's
Oh,
trouble.
yeah? So we have sequels with Mendel. Awesome.
Yeah, we performed Mendel, time of Mendel's
It's-
trouble at the
it's a-
Peking
it's a
Theater in New
trilogy.
York City.
We have a trilogy of Mendels, three Mendels.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
anyway, it's fun. We love what we do.
Well, it
And
was
we're-
very
we're
profound
such-
and it was very deep and it was very layered.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I really
Oh my
appreciate
God,
the conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
It's so wonderful. You ask such, you have a good understanding, I must say that, and you ask such poignant questions. Poignant, uh, wonderful questions. You obviously have an understanding of what it is that this musical is all about and what we were trying to accomplish, and you saw it. And thank you for
I
that.
love that, and I love that you filled in any gaps that I missed. And yeah, it was really meaningful. And you're going to have to keep me posted about the Mendels to come.
We will indeed.
Yeah, we will do that. We will do that. We
All
think
right.
that this musical it's already going into Russia and into it's going to be going into Israel, and it's probably going to go all over the world. It is a one of a kind, and we believe that it is way above anything that we could ever have expected it to be.